Hi everyone, here is our math problem for today. Several weeks ago, my friend visited me and asked for my Wi-Fi password. I told him the password is the first 8 digits of the definite integral from -2 to +2 of the quantity x cubed times cosine x over 2 plus 1/2, all multiplied by the square root of 4 minus x squared dx. Can you figure out what is my Wi-Fi password? You can pause the video and see if you can solve this fun integration problem. Now let's solve this problem together. At first glance, this integral seems to be so complicated. You have x cubed, and you have the cosine function, and you have a radical function. But this problem is chosen in such a way that this will not involve a lot of calculus. What we need are more analysis and understanding of what really is definite integration. So let's analyze the functions. We have here x cubed cosine of x over 2 as one term, 1/2 as another term, and that is multiplied by this monomial factor, the square root of 4 minus x squared. So the first thing to do is distribute this monomial to each of the terms of the binomial, and this is what we got. The first term times the monomial factor that resulted to this red function. The second term times the same monomial factor. The result is this blue function. So we now have here the integral of these two terms dx. Now from the properties of integrals, we can split this into two. The definite integral from -2 to +2 of x cubed times cosine of x over 2 times the square root of 4 minus x squared dx. That is one integral, plus another definite integral from -2 to +2 of 1/2 times the square root of 4 minus x squared dx. Let's concentrate first on the integral of this red function. Notice that x cubed is an odd function, cosine is an even function, and the square root of 4 minus x squared is an even function. Now let's recall that if we multiply an odd function times an even function, the result is an odd function. Also, if you multiply an even function times an even function, the result is an even function. So in here, when we multiply this odd function times another even function, the result would be an odd function. And that odd function times an even function, the result is also another odd function. So when multiplied, these three functions would result to an odd function. Now, let's recall some properties of odd functions. If the function is odd, and the upper and the lower limits are opposite values, then the integral is equal to 0. In our case here, the limits of integration are -2 and +2. So they are opposite values. They are additive inverses. And this red function is an odd function. Therefore, based on this property, we can now say that the value of this definite integral is 0. Why is that so? Notice that when you have an odd function, that function is symmetrical with respect to the line y equals x. So this blue line is y equals x. Now, since our function is an odd function, this portion here at the left side of the y-axis, below the x-axis, and this other portion here at the first quadrant are symmetrical, but one is above the x-axis and the other is below the x-axis. That means the area here is negative, the area here is positive, and they are symmetrical. They have the same areas. Therefore, they will cancel each other out. And so the result would be 0. That is why now we have here 0, because conceptually, definite integration is finding the area under a curve from the lower limit of integration to the upper limit of integration. And so at this point, our only problem now is to find the definite integral of the blue function from -2 to +2. Notice here that we have a constant 1/2 that we can write outside the integral symbol. And let's concentrate now on this function, the square root of 4 minus x squared. How does the graph of this look like? Let's get the x and the y-intercepts. If we let x to be equal to 0, then we have y equals the principal square root of 4, which is equal to 2. So the y-intercept is equal to 2. Then, if we let y be 0, we can find the x-intercepts. So we have 0 equals the principal square root of 4 minus x squared. Then squaring both sides, we have 0 equals 4 minus x squared. Then solving for x squared. And finally, solve for x, we have x equals plus or minus 2. So we have x equals negative 2 and x equals positive 2 as the x-intercepts of this function. Notice here that y refers to the principal square root of 4 minus x squared. So y is positive. And the graph of that is this semicircle with a radius of 2 units. And since our idea of definite integration is that is the area under the curve from the lower limit of integration, which is negative 2, to the upper limit of integration, which is positive 2, then what we are after here is the area of this semicircle. We can easily find that because we know that the radius is 2 units. Therefore, this definite integral from negative 2 to positive 2 of the function, the square root of 4 minus x squared dx, is just pi r squared divided by 2, or the area of this semicircle. So the numerator here is the formula for the area of a circle, and we divide by 2 to get the area of the semicircle. But here our radius is 2, so change r by 2, and 2 squared is 4, so we have 4 pi over 2 times 1/2, and that is simplified to 4 pi over 4, or simply pi. And therefore, the value of this definite integral is actually pi, and this is now our solution to this integral puzzle. How about you? Do you also have mathematical tricks that you use to have fun with your friends? Let us know in the comments section. So thank you very much. This is Lando Assistant, and we hope to see you again in our next video. Bye for now.